an interesting thing happens. You feel empowered. Doing this work brings courage. I'm going to give you some ways to take action.
Yeah!
First, keep showing up. There is a silver lining in this moment that we're in. Republicans currently control the House, the Senate, and the White House. All of this is on them. The price of eggs, the price of gas, the tariffs, the unemployment, the chaos. Don't overthink this and say the presidents don't really control the price of gas. When Biden was president, they claimed that we controlled the weather. Let's point that narrative back at the Republicans. The mess they're creating is theirs. Make them own it.
Together, we can reclaim the American dream, and not the billionaire version, the people's version, a future worthy of our dreams, our children, and our planet. And you all give me hope. Look at this turnout. This is incredible. Utah is about to become the battleground state of the future. So when I say Utah, you say Utah. Utah. So many underestimate us and underestimate our stakes. But as a 5'2" woman, I know what it's like to be underestimated. I know what it's like when people tell you that your dream is too big and impossible. But when they say change in Utah is impossible, we say, watch us. Just a few minutes, we will be welcoming Bernie and AOC. So now it is my immense honor to introduce someone who has challenged the establishment. She deeply inspired my journey to run for office. She spoke truth to power, and she won. Utah, let's make some noise for the one, the only, Congresswoman Alexandria. The truth. Look around. We are the power. Balance their checkbooks, we can balance our federal budget without cutting Social Security, without cutting Medicare and Medicaid. We can do that by finally making billionaires pay their fair share. We can get big money out of politics and send a message loud and clear. If you sell us out, we will vote you out.
The oligarchy.
We must do away with the power of big money. And that's why, even as a waitress, with a long shot campaign, I decided that day that I would never take money from lobbyists or corporations. And when I got to Congress, I was genuinely shocked by how the place worked. Even having run against dark money in the first place, the everyday influence of corruption was astonishing. We have somehow conditioned ourselves to believe that it is normal for members of Congress who swore an oath to the people to somehow day trade individual stocks. Information we are entrusted with to serve. How, I ask you, can anyone possibly make an objective vote on healthcare, energy, or war when their personal money is tied up in pharmaceutical companies, oil companies, or defense companies? You can't. And we saw this play out this week with Trump's corrupt and disastrous tariff scheme. Now we can see now that Trump's tariff scheme didn't have anything to do with manufacturing like they claimed. It was all about manipulating the markets so he could quietly enrich his friends who bought the dip before reversing it all in the morning. All our seniors and retirees suffered. Salt Lake City, this is a matter of fact. Donald Trump is a criminal. In this country. And to be clear, I don't care what party you are, Democrat or Republican. It doesn't matter how powerful or what position you have. Members of Congress holding and trading individual stock is wrong. That's shocking when I got to Congress. Just this year, I was named to the Energy and Commerce Committee. This is one of the most powerful committees in all of Congress. And for years, lobbyists fought to keep me off it. In no small part because I believe in Medicare for all. The day that it was announced that I was put on that committee, our phones and the phones in my office rang off the hook. Our inboxes exploded with emails from virtually every corporate lobbyist under the sun. All of a sudden, they wanted to be friends. But you know what, Salt Lake City? Because of you all, because of your support, because you all show up, because you allow me to not take a dime in corporate money, you free me to say no. And you can free others to say no too. I've seen how these groups bully members of Congress. They threaten to take money away or threaten to spend it against them if they don't do what they want. And what they want is for our lives to be as expensive as possible on the lowest possible wage. And it trickles down to how life feels for working people today. But I want us to understand that this constant pressure that we feel in our lives, of the water rising up to our throats, the impossibility to afford anything easily, the fear of speaking up or being who we are in public, the bitter divisions driven more by online algorithms than the truth, the crumbling of our rights and protections. Understand that this, right now, is what it feels like to be governed by billionaires. This is what oligarchy feels like, not someday, right now. The first step is for us to open our eyes. Because of course, it is a system that depends on division to enable inequality that will result in a president who is best at dividing us and most skilled at corruption. And it will also reward the Republicans in Congress who support that agenda, no matter what crimes are committed. Big money is how we got Donald Trump. His whole presidency began with launching tools for bribery, meme coins and cryptocurrencies to fleece normal people and move money in the dark. Extortion settlements from media companies and law firms who gladly paid the price. Removing duly elected officials from the inauguration, even Republican ones, to make room for the unelected billionaires who sat right behind him. Central economic mission, to make billionaires richer at the expense of the United States of America. And it does not surprise us that their first economic mission has been to target Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, firing our federal workers and cutting benefits from our veterans for hundreds of billions of dollars so that they can hand that money off to the wealthiest. Thank you, Salt Lake City.
A moment ago that we were in LA yesterday. We had 36,000 people out. But in many ways, the 20,000 we have out today is more impressive. Conservative Utah, and tomorrow we're going to be in Idaho. Because we believe that in every state of this country, people are prepared to stand up and fight back. Now I want to say a word about my daughter. I want to say a word about Alexandria and why what she's doing is so important. And here's the story. 6 years ago, 6 years ago, what were you doing for a living? She was a waitress. But she looked around her and she saw a society that was fundamentally unjust and in many ways ugly to the people in the community in which she lived in New York City. She stood up and took on one of the most powerful people in the House of Representatives. She started with almost no money against the guy who had unlimited funds, and she beat him. Why do I tell you that story? It's not just to talk about Alexandria. The point that I am making is that in this arena of 15,000 people, there are hundreds of Alexandrians. There are hundreds of Alices and Joes and Marys and Cynthias. And all across this country, we are going to need people to go outside of their comfort zone. The establishment, man, they are smart. They are so smart. And one of the smartest things they do, one of the most effective things they do, is to say to all of you and working people all over America, hey, we got the money, we got the power, we own it all, you ain't nothing you're gonna do about it. And a lot of people sit back and they say, what am I gonna do? Can't do nothing. All right, my boss is gonna fire me, this, that, and the other thing. And that is the mindset we have got to break through. We are living in the most dangerous moments in the modern history of this country. And I really, especially for the young people, I wish I could not have to tell you that, you know, but it is just simply true. We are living in a moment where a handful of billionaires control our government. You know, for many years I have been talking about oligarchy in America, and people say, well, you know, Bernie, just give a speech. But anybody, I have to thank, you know, Trump for educating the American people about what oligarchy is. We can talk about it as an abstraction, but when Trump gets inaugurated and standing right behind him, and I had the remarkable, unreal, surreal experience of being in the front row, just like you guys are. I got pushed into that, I don't know how, but there I was. And there's Trump taking the oath of office, and right behind him are the three wealthiest people in America. Mr. Musk, Mr. Bezos, and Mr. Zuckerberg. And if that is not enough to make you understand that we're living in an oligarchy, right behind them were 13 other billionaires that Trump had nominated to head up major federal agencies. And then it's not only that we are living in an oligarchy and have a government of billionaires. That's bad. You know, I was thinking recently, I wish that I had been a better student in the 6th grade of American history. But I remember, and many of you will remember, Abraham Lincoln in 1863 in Gettysburg. Remember what he said? That's what he said. He was looking out on the field, the battlefield. He had come there just a few days after the terrible battle where 20,000 Union soldiers fighting slavery, fighting to end slavery, had either died or been wounded. 20,000 soldiers. And he looked out on that field. And this is what he said. He said that we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain. That this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom. And then remember what he said? And that government of the...
We must be honest about how we got to where we are right now. Because this moment didn't come out of nowhere. It has been a long time coming. The destruction of our rights and our democracy is directly tied to the growing and extreme wealth inequality that has been building in America for years. It's not a coincidence that billionaires like Elon Musk dumped billions into this election to elect Donald Trump. Charity. For years, we have known that our political system has slowly but surely become dominated by big money and billionaires. And time after time, we've seen how our government and laws are more responsive to lobbyists than to the will of everyday people. Keep wages low and loot our public goods to give to the rich is deeply unpopular with the people of all parties. As what Republicans have been quietly doing in Congress, voting to advance cuts on hundreds of billions of dollars from Medicaid and veterans benefits so that they can the billionaires in the form of tax cuts and sweetheart deals to billionaires in companies like SpaceX. You know who from Utah voted for that, by the way? Both of your senators, Mike Lee and John Salt Lake City's own House members, Blake Moore and Celeste Malone. They know that it is deeply unpopular. They know that it hurts working families from Utah. But they know that they are not there to serve the working class. They are there to serve themselves and the billionaires who paid them. But they also know that the only chance they have to get away with such an unpopular agenda is to stoke deep divisions along race, identity, and culture to keep us fighting and distracted from one another. And this has been the big money playbook, not just now, not just today, but it has been for decades. And that is why Donald Trump is not an aberration. He is the logical, inevitable conclusion of an American political system dominated by corporate and dark money. We must defeat the system that created him. We are at a crossroads in America. We can either have extreme and growing wealth inequality with the toxic division and corruption that it requires to survive, or we can have a fair economy for working people along with the democracy and freedoms that uphold it. Oligarchy or democracy, but we cannot have both. I grew up in a working class family. My mom cleaned houses, and my dad worked to build a small business. My parents worked themselves to the bone own so that my brother and I could just have a shot. The American dream. And for a moment there, it looked like we were going to make it. We had a home, bills were getting a little less stressful to pay, and I was doing well in school. But what may have looked like a modest life to others was a dream come true for us. But suddenly, when I was a teenager, my dad was diagnosed with a rare form of cancer. And after a long fight, we lost him. And he actually passed away in September of 2008, just as the economy crashed in the Great Recession and millions of jobs across this country vanished. It felt like the world of our family fell apart as the larger world was falling apart too. And overnight, my mom was left to figure out how to provide for 2 kids by herself, put them through school, keep our house, pay off my dad's medical bills, all on a house cleaner salary. And that's how I became a waitress, because it was millions of innocent working families who paid the price while the billionaires and thieves who defrauded our financial system got off richer than ever before. And not a single one of them went to jail. And you know what, Utah? That is the story that Republicans mock. Not mine, but all of ours, when they say that a waitress or working person is unqualified to serve in Congress. Many of us are far more qualified to know what real life is actually like than any of them ever will. Not because it's special, but because of how common and normal it is. While the details may differ, so many of us know what it feels like for life to be one bad day, one bad piece of news, one major setback, from everything feeling like it's going to fall apart. And we don't have to live like this anymore, Utah. We can make a new world, a better country, where we can fight for the dignity of all people. And it looks like living wages, Utah. It looks like stable housing, Utah. It looks like guaranteed health care something free. And it looks like respect for all of our differences, no matter who we are or where we come from.
We cannot continue to live in a country where billionaires will step on people, take food away from hungry children in order to give tax breaks to people who don't need it. I happen to believe that we are more human, we live more fulfilled lives when we try to help other people, not step on other people. But brothers and sisters, we're not just fighting oligarchy. We're fighting a president who undermines our Constitution every day, who threatens our freedom of speech and assembly, and whose agents are rounding up innocent people off the streets, throwing them into unmarked vans, and bringing them to detention centers in this country and abroad. What takes place in dictatorships, not in America. We will not allow them to continue. But I think back to the founding of this country. And let me tell you, the founding fathers of this country were no dummies. They remember the history, we're talking about the 1780s. They had just fought a war, an impossibly difficult war, where they defeated the King of England, the most powerful person on the planet. Let's hear it for George Washington. But anyhow, these guys have taken on an autocrat. And they sat and they sit around and they said, all right, what do we want in our new country? What do we want? And what they said is, we don't want any one person to have all of that power. So they dealt with the Federalist Papers and all that stuff, and they came up with this kind of brilliant idea of a separation of powers. All right? They said we're going to have a legislative branch, Congress, House, and Senate. We are going to have a executive branch, the president. We're going to have a judiciary, the federal courts. And each one will have check on each other. And what I want to tell you, and I don't need to tell you, I think you're seeing it every single day. You have a president who is working overtime to take power away from the Congress. You've got a president who is working overtime to take power away from the federal courts. Now, it is unprecedented. You know, no president, no member of Congress wants to see a Supreme Court or any court rule against him or her. We don't like to see that. And I will tell you that we have seen in the last 20 years with the Roberts Court horrendous decisions on Citizens United and Roe versus Wade. Terrible. But we understand that we live in a rule of law. What Trump and his friends are doing now is they're saying, oh, a judge ruled against us. A judge said we can't do something which is unconstitutional. Let us get rid of that judge. Let us impeach that judge. So in other words, you take power away from Congress, you take power away from the judiciary, and also you got a president who really does not like to be criticized. So he is sued, I mean, this is again unprecedented. He has sued ABC, CBS, Meta, the Des Moines Register. The Des Moines Register did a poll he didn't like, they are suing him. They are investigating right now PBS and NPR. So you add it all together. And what I would say to Trump, if you cannot take criticism, get out of the political process. What Trump has done is gone after major law firms. You're familiar with this. He's gone after major law firms who had opposed them in the past, opposed him or his friends. And what is really disgraceful is that a number of these law firms whose job it is to defend the rule of law, they have caved in to Trump in order to get their millions and millions of dollars in government. And he's going after universities. The function of a higher university, an education in general, is the pursuit of truth, wherever that takes us. And we are now seeing really sadly major universities changing their curriculum in order to appease Trump and hang on to their federal grants. Founding fathers of our country waged a war for democracy. We believe in democracy. We are not going to let Trump take us into an authoritarian. But it is not just domestic policy that we should be concerned about. For the first time in our 250-year history, we have a president who is aligning us with a terrible dictatorship in Russia. No, Mr. President, Ukraine did not start that war. Trump to make some partnership with Putin. But it's not just Ukraine, not just Ukraine. I very strongly oppose the Biden administration when they provided billions of dollars to the extremist Netanyahu government. Israel, like any country, has a right to defend itself against terrorism. But it does not have the right to wage an all-out war against the Palestinian people. This is a war that has already killed in an area of 2.2 million people, has killed 50,000 people, has injured over 110,000, 60% of whom are women, children, and the elderly. And to make a bad situation even uglier, Trump has now decided that he wants the United States to dispel, to get rid of all of the people in Gaza so he can build a Riviera for his billionaire friends. That is beyond insane, and we're not going to allow that to happen. Let's take a moment to do something that is not often done in the media, in the corporate media, or in the halls of Congress, and that is to tell the truth about what goes on in America today. And here it is, in a nutshell. On one hand, you have the people on top who have never, ever had it so good in the history of America. Mr. Bezos, Mr. Musk himself, Listen to this. One man owns 5 times more wealth than the bottom 50% of American households. He is worth $340 billion, while the bottom 50% of households are worth $63 billion. The top 1% in America now owns more wealth than the bottom 90%. And CEOs of major corporations now earn 300 times what their workers make. Now that is one America, and it's an America where these guys really are separated from the reality of American life. They fly around in their own jets. They own their own islands. They send their kids to exclusive schools. They have nannies. They live in a very separate world. That's one world. And then there is another world. And in that other world, in the richest country in the history of the world, 60% of our people live paycheck to paycheck. And that's why we're here. We do not want a government of the billionaire class, by the billionaire class, for the billionaire class. We want a government that represents all of us, not just the 1%. The richest guy on earth, running all over Washington, D.C., throwing tens of thousands of dedicated federal workers out on the street. No! Slashing the Social Security Administration so that elderly, disabled people are going to find it really hard to get the information they need to access Social Security. We don't want Mr. Musk and his friends proposing to lay off 83,000 employees at the Veterans Administration. We believe that the men and women who have put their lives on the line to defend this country deserve the highest quality. We don't want Mr. Musk and his friends running around slashing USAID. You know, some of the proudest things I think we feel is when we know our government has done things to help the poorest people on earth, children who would die of preventable diseases. That's what makes us a great country. And what makes all of this stuff even worse is that all of these cuts, to Social Security, to the VA, to USAID, etc., they are designed to do one thing, and that is to give massive tax breaks to the top 1%. At a time when our healthcare system is already broken, they want to cut Medicaid by $880 billion. They want to cut nutrition programs for hungry kids so they can give Mr. Musk and the other billionaires a huge tax break. The power of the billionaire class exists not only in the economy. Today we have an economy with more concentration of ownership than we have ever had in the history of this country. You know what that means? It means that in sector after sector of our economy, a handful of large corporations control what's produced and how much you pay for those products. And that is why, in many instances, prices are so high. But they control not only the economy, they also control our corrupt campaign finance system. I want you to think about it. I want you to think about it for a second, and you tell me. And I don't care if you are a conservative, Republican, a progressive, an independent, moderate, whatever you are, you tell me. You think it is appropriate in this, the longest standing democracy on earth, that one man, Mr. Musk, could donate $270 million to elect Trump as president? No! And then get rewarded by getting the most important and powerful position in government. But I have to tell you, it's not just Musk and Republicans, that corruption exists in the Democratic Party as well. Billionaires in the Democratic side make huge contributions. And there is a reason why for too many years and for too many candidates, Democrats have not had the guts to take on powerful special interests. I want to say something else, and that is, I want to say a lot of things. You know, I am not somebody who is, I am proud to be Jewish, but I'm not into organized religion very much. But I do believe in moral values. And I do believe, Christ's Sermon on the Mount, what did he say? He said, do unto others
as you would have done unto you.
As you would have them do unto you. And it turns out that principle, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, exists in virtually every religion on earth. It exists in Judaism, it exists in Islam, it exists in every religion. Treat people in the way that you would want them to treat you. Be decent to other people. Be kind to other people so they will be kind to you. And I know that in Utah and in Vermont and all over the country there are millions, tens of millions of people who believe that, who try to do the right thing. Try to be decent. Try to be humble. Try to respect the rights of other people. Try not to be bullies. Millions and millions of people hold that ethos very, very strongly. But I do want to say that in terms of the oligarchs in this country, they are also very religious people. But they have a strange religion. Their religion is greed